I'm Chef Jasper, and today we're in the kitchen preparing an old school dish. It's actually a different cut of meat, and sometimes people are a little afraid to use these different cuts of meat, but I actually love this one. Okay, so some people actually call it a butcher's cut. Well, the butchers do, because that's the secret. Why they call it that? Well, because it's so tender, they don't want to give it up. But a lot of people say it's a flank steak. You may call it a skirt steak if you're from Britain. But any way you look at it, if you go to the butcher, they'll have a flank steak available for you. I like to call it the Kansas City butcher steak. Now, let's get this started because the meat is absolutely beautiful. Just look at this. I mean, to be honest with you, I can actually just get this knife and just, it's so tender. I just can't explain it to you when I cut a little bit off here already. But we're going to trim just a little fat. Now, we want some of this fat on there, but let's just take just a little bit off of here. Just a little bit. I mean, I don't know. The butcher really trimmed this down for me, so I absolutely really appreciate that. Okay, so there's not much else I have to do to this meat. It's done. But let's start off with a little bit of mustard, and we're going to rub this with the mustard. No salt needed here because the mustard has enough in there. And we're just going to smear this all over. This is a great way to marinate the meat, give it some excellent flavor. And from this point now, that's about enough. About 1.5 tablespoons, 2 tablespoons should do it. But then, here's what I want to do. Get your fresh garlic. Smash that garlic. Not too much. We don't want all the oils going everywhere. But then, we're going to chop this garlic up. And if you've cooked with me before, you know I like a little bit of garlic in these dishes. But we don't want it to overpower. I think the mustard's going to help with that. And now, we just need some rough cuts. But here is one of my little tricks. After we chop the garlic up, we're going to get it, put it right on top there. And again, with the mustard, we're going to kind of put it into the meat a little bit more. And how simple is this? Get a resealable bag, place the meat in here, just like that. Get some fresh rosemary. You could take it off, just like I did here, or just put it in there. But I'm going to tell you right now, we want to kind of break it a little bit because now you can start smelling it. And we're going to leave it in here to marinate for about a couple hours or so. Now, after a couple hours of marinating, we're just going to get this butcher's cut, take it out, discard the rosemary, but don't worry about that garlic because, you know what? I think it's going to help while we're cooking, but take most of that rosemary off before heating in the pan. Let's get some of our butter into a hot pan. And we're going to give this a nice sear. Wow, the butter and the garlic, such great flavor. But I'm going to do it on the garlic side down. How about that? Now, you notice I didn't marinate both sides. I'm not really worried about that at all. You may, at this point, want to put just a little bit of salt here and just a couple of turns of cracked pepper. And here I have a little mixture of red pepper and black pepper and white pepper. And really give this a good sear on both sides. Let's check how the meat looks on the first side with that mustard crust and that garlic and a little bit of rosemary. Oh yeah, just what we want. Nice little sear on the edges. This is going to be just perfect. I know I keep saying, but this meat just looks so tender. Now, when we take it out, of course, we'll cut against the grain, but I can already tell it's going to be one tender piece of meat. Along with that Kansas City peppercorn sauce, it's going to be absolutely delicious. All right, let's just check on this one more time. Oh, we're getting a good sear on that side also. Let's turn this over because I think we get a little more sear here on this side. Yeah, that's what we want right there. Really, really nice. And like I said before, the aromas right now, I don't know, between the butter and the garlic, the little bit of rosemary in here, it's going to be a good one. At this point, let's take the meat out of the pan, put it on our board, let it sit for maybe a couple minutes before you actually start cutting it. It's time to make the Kansas City peppercorn sauce. My father used to make this sauce when I was just a young child, and I still make it every holiday, or really anytime friends come over and I want a quick peppercorn sauce. Let me tell you something. All you need is a little bit of butter to start with. Now, I really don't want the butter to melt too much right now. Why? Because it's going to help thicken the sauce up also. So just melt the butter maybe 1/4 of the way. Reduce the pan with some Worcestershire sauce. Oh yeah, and then a little bit of marmalade. And everybody always asks me, what is it in there? I see the orange. I said, no, it's not just orange, it's orange marmalade. You can use an apricot marmalade also. Peach marmalade's okay. Bring this to a nice little boil. Of course, at this time, we're going to eat some peppercorns because, come on, that's what it's all about. And remember, the Worcestershire sauce has a lot of flavor. All right. It's all coming together. You see what I mean about that butter really helping to thicken up? But then a touch of cream right at the end. In less than a minute, minute and a half, you have a delicious peppercorn sauce. Look how thick it's starting to get already. And while that's all cooking down, let's add a little brandy. Of course, maybe a little too much, doesn't matter. It's going to cook down. But if you're on a gas fire, of course, you're going to have a nice flambe. But wow. You can really, really smell this right now in here. And that is all you need to do to make a delicious peppercorn sauce. Adjust the pepper to your liking. All right, let's just cut this meat against the grain. And just look at this, will you? Now that is cooked perfect. You know, a lot of people always ask me about searing in a frying pan, but I just think I have a little more control over it that way. All right, let's place this down on a platter. Kind of fan that out a little bit. How about that? And then we're going to put a little bit of rosemary, of course. Some of this peppercorn sauce right on top. Top with some pickled onions. And you have a delicious dish that I would be honored to serve to my family. Brought to you by Hen House Markets.